Our top stories tonight: some disgruntled ANC members demand the president's sacking as the party's leaders meet. The ANC Women's League calls for decisive action with the Gupta controversy. This is eNews Direct Weekend Edition. Good evening.
You can comment on any of our stories by following us on Facebook and Twitter at eNews Direct.
Or you can check out content on our website enca.com/direct. ANC leaders have met for a second day of talks, but there's no indication yet whether concerns about state capture have been discussed. While the party's National Executive Committee is remaining tight-lipped, outside the meeting, some members have spoken out. They're calling on the party's leaders to remove ANC President Jacob Zuma.
These protesters are determined to be heard, despite the absence in numbers. Led by former ANC Youth League Deputy President Ronald Lamola, they're picketing outside the venue where the party's highest decision-making structure is meeting.
The message we are here to send is to send to the NEC that they've got a final opportunity this weekend to redeem the image of the ANC, its integrity and everything. Because if they don't do so, members of South African public must rise up and remove Jacob Zuma.
The NEC's meeting amid startling revelations of political influence by the Gupta family.
They must not continue to speak for us as if we are endorsing the shenanigans that are happening between the Zuma family and the Gupta family. So as members of the ANC, we are concerned, we are worried that there is no clear direction from this NEC. We have been dithering for the past 5 years. They've dithered even on the Nkandla issue. There have been various issues that they were dithering on. So that's why we're here. We're saying they must have courage. They must stand up and recall President Jacob Zuma as the President of the Republic, and then call a special National Congress before the end of this year to deal with election of new leadership for the ANC, because it is clear now that it is now or never.
But the party would not be drawn on the picket.
I'm not part of the plan of the picket, so I don't think you're asking the right person that question.
What's the ANC's view on the picket?
Thank you very much. What view do you have on a picket that you don't, we are not part of? We're not part of the picket. If there's picket, they will be picketing us.
At the same time, the ANC Women's League and the Young Communist League have also endorsed calls for decisive leadership this weekend. They've urged NEC members to speak up during the meeting and not express their grievances through the media.
Well, the ANC Women's League is also calling for decisive action with the Gupta controversy. It says allegations about the family's influence on government should be taken seriously. The call comes after Deputy Finance Minister Mcebisi Jonas and others spoke out publicly this week. They allege the Gupta family offered them cabinet positions. President Zuma has stated categorically that he appoints all ministers. KwaZulu-Natal Premier Senzo Mchunu ordered a probe into the fatal accident on the N2 near Zinkwazi involving one of his escort cars. It's alleged the bakkie veered off the road into oncoming traffic before colliding with another car. The two people in the other vehicle have been killed, while the bakkie's occupants sustained minor injuries. Mchunu was not in the car at the time of the accident and has released a statement expressing his shock. He says they're now looking for a truck that allegedly caused the accident and then drove away. The DA has also weighed in, saying it'll push for a full-scale investigation to ensure the families of the victims get answers. The fight against racism is gaining momentum. Members of the South African Clothing and Textile Workers Union have taken to the streets of Cape Town in protest against the scourge. Their march culminated in the planting of a tree in District 6, a symbolic gesture in a place that was once declared a whites-only area.
Speaking with one voice. Hundreds of members of the South African Clothing and Textile Workers Union marching through Cape Town. Their message is clear. They want an end to all forms of racism, as well as xenophobia. SACTU has joined forces with a number of organizations, calling for an end to discrimination. This follows a series of racist outbursts on social media at the beginning of the year. It's no coincidence that the march ended in District 6, where residents were evicted and their homes destroyed by the apartheid regime 50 years ago.
The history of our country, and in particular in the history of the Western Cape, this is one of the most brutal racist acts that we have seen by any government globally. It is the one issue in Cape Town that still hurts people very, very deeply, but it is only a microcosm of what has happened nationally with thousands and thousands of our people.
SACTU members have planted a tree at a century-old primary school, which was one of the only buildings that survived the forced removals.
50 years from now, there must be a memory that SACTU has lifted this issue of racism and the unacceptability of racist attitudes in our country and globally. So we will leave here a memory.
The march is one of a number of events that have taken place to mark Anti-Racism Week.
A 14-year-old Limpopo girl's been chased from her home after being accused of being a witch. Her father believes she's brought misfortune to their family. She's now living at an aftercare centre that usually caters for school children. Some activists say she's lucky to be alive.
This young girl says she doesn't know how it feels to be loved by a parent. She was abandoned by her mother and left in the care of an abusive father.
My father would come back from his drinking and beat me. He would lock the door and say he's going to take a knife or a stick, and I would escape through the window.
Her story doesn't end there.
My father took me to a social worker, told them he does not want me because I am a witch. They took me to the trauma center. Then they brought me here.
She's been living at this aftercare center since November.
The father just said, she have killed my mother. Then I said, how? Then he said, no. Actually, early in the morning, my child just go to my mother, then after all, my mother passed away.
One group says witch hunting happens far too often, ending in death for many of the victims.
There's a form of scapegoating where you have misfortunes, unexplained or unexpected deaths and illnesses, or financial difficulties, and you have this blame for this shifted onto these accused witches.
The Department of Social Development says their biggest concern with this case is the apparent lack of care by the parents.
I think the situation is about child neglect or child abandonment more than anything else, but communities will talk about their issues according to their experience. Because one, we don't have a violation that is called witchcraft.
The young girl will continue staying here until a court decides later this month where her permanent home should be. Zikhona Tshona, Budeli village in Limpopo.
The Hluhluwe community in northern KwaZulu-Natal has been badly affected by drought. In May last year, 29 cattle died in a suspected water poisoning incident. That's as commercial and communal farmers fought over water use rights. But government's hoping to stop this tension. It's constructed 2 boreholes in the area, and officials are promising more boreholes and dams in the area. A warning though, this story does contain graphic images.
May 2015 was a dark month for Hluhluwe farmers. 29 cattle died in a suspected water poisoning incident. Cleopas Matenjwa was hardest hit, losing 25 of his cattle.
It's still the same because since then nothing has happened. But I believe that government is also considering the drought situation, because even if they give me cows, what am I going to do with them in this drought?
And while he has still not been compensated for his cattle, he's been given something to smile about. Government has handed over 2 boreholes with 250,000 rand. And over 100 local families stand to benefit.
The boreholes are helping the cows, sheep and other livestock. We've seen members of the community also queuing up for water.
The boreholes will stop the water fights that have been taking place between different users. Government says it plans to build 6 boreholes and 4 dams around Hluhluwe.
A new cell phone app is being developed to make it safer to go out in public. It'll enable users to gather others around when faced with a potentially dangerous situation. Organisers say they've been motivated by the spate of recent rapes and murders in Cape Town, and they're racing against time to get it ready.
It's literally anybody that needs to get from point A to B, whether it's in a work scenario, maybe you're going to a public transport place from your work. Ultimately, it could be children that are walking to a bus stop. We want people to be able to gather a group of people to join them on a particular activity, and the thinking is that there's safety in numbers.
Those working on the Hamba Safe project have a 48-hour deadline. They've been at it constantly for almost a day and say it's worth giving up their time and sleep for free.
Obviously, a lot of hard work and deep diving and trial and error, but it really is taking shape, and so it's coming together nicely. I think we're in a good position to have something very good.
The tech sector in South Africa, and especially in Cape Town, is so huge. This is such a perfect opportunity for the technology industry to get together, to engage, to create, to collaborate, and to make something which is going to be useful to the community.
Organisers say security measures will verify users. The Hamba Safe app will be free, but the release date hasn't yet been determined. Aisha Vidvala, Cape Town.
Well, to news from around the world now, and visuals some viewers may find disturbing. CCTV footage has captured the final moment a passenger plane from Dubai crashed in Russia. All 62 people on board the Fly Dubai Boeing are believed to have died. The aircraft missed the runway as it attempted to land in poor visibility and high winds. Reports say the plane abandoned an initial attempt to land and circled for 2 hours before trying again. Europe's most wanted fugitive for the November Paris attacks has been arrested in Belgium. Shots were fired and explosions heard as police moved in to nab the wounded Salah Abdeslam. He'd been on the run for 4 months. France has requested that he be extradited as quickly as possible. And Turkey's been hit by another suicide bombing. At least 4 people were killed in the attack in Istiklal Street, a major tourist shopping area. Up to 20 have been injured, some seriously. The country's on edge after dozens of people have been killed in earlier suicide attacks this year. Well, for these stories and more, go to enca.com/direct or follow us on Twitter and Facebook at eNews Direct. Well, after the break,
I want to say I'm sorry for the things I've done.
An American suspect sings Adele's hit Hello to apologize for his crimes.
But I want you to know.
A new Miss South Africa is being chosen tonight as Liesl Laurie hands over her crown. 12 finalists are competing for the title at Carnival City. During Miss SA's reign, she will represent South Africa at both the Miss World and Miss Universe pageants. 24-year-old Laurie from Eldorado Park was in the top 10 at the Miss World 2015 pageant in China. In the United States, a Michigan man broke out in song during his court sentencing for unlawful imprisonment and carrying a concealed weapon. Brian Taylor drew inspiration from Adele's hit song Hello to apologize to the judge for his crimes.
That's how I wrote a song. Hello there, Your Honor, I want to say I'm sorry for the things I've done, and I try and be stronger in this life I chose, but I want you to know that door I closed. In Your Honor, I'm sorry, 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 sorry. To my mother, I'm sorry, 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 sorry. To the victim, I'm sorry, 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 sorry. Yes, Your Honor, I'm sorry, 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 sorry. Oh. Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, that's your entertainment for tonight. After the break, Louis has your weather forecast.
Good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. A cold front brushed over the southern parts of the country today, and that brought a few showers to parts of the Western Cape, mainly during the morning. While it was a sunny and warm day across much of the Northern Cape and the Free State, further northwards over Limpopo and Mpumalanga there was a fair amount of cloud, and along with that there were showers and thunder showers affecting parts of those provinces. On Sunday, KwaZulu-Natal will be partly cloudy and warm to hot. There's a possibility for a few thunder showers, but later on it will become very cloudy, especially towards the evening, and light rain will start settling in across many parts of the province. Very similar conditions are expected for the eastern parts of the Eastern Cape, but further westwards it's going to be partly cloudy and warm as well as dry across those areas. A weak cold front is going to start pushing in over the southern parts of the Western Cape on Sunday afternoon and evening. That will spread light rain from the peninsula all the way through to the Garden Route, and by later in the evening we could see some light rain reaching the Little Karoo. Sunny for the Northern Cape, but a bit of cloud cover for the coastline where it's going to be a windy day. And for the Free State, it will be cold at first for some areas. Bethlehem drops down to 7 degrees overnight, but it will be a warm and sunny afternoon across the province. Hot in the northwest, all areas getting above 30 degrees Celsius, including Rustenburg at 33. And for Limpopo, we could see a few thunder showers over the eastern and northern parts, and it's going to be a hot day once again for the province. Into Mpumalanga, where we could also see a few drops of rain for the eastern parts, but dry for most of the Highveld, 30 degrees for Secunda as well as Standerton. And in Gauteng, very similar conditions expected, partly cloudy and dry. Pretoria gets to a maximum of 32 degrees. On Monday, there'll still be a few showers along parts of our eastern and southern coastline, very cloudy and quite cool for parts of KwaZulu-Natal. And by Tuesday, very isolated thunder showers return to the Highveld, Johannesburg cooler with a maximum of 25 degrees. And now for a reminder that between 8:30 and 9:30 p.m. tonight, it is Earth Hour, and we should all turn off our lights as a show of our commitment to the planet. That's all from the Weather Centre. Goodbye for now.
Recap of your top stories this Saturday night. Some disgruntled ANC members demand the president's sacking as the party's leaders meet. The ANC Women's League calls for decisive action with the Gupta controversy. Well, that's a wrap from the eNews Direct team. To share your views, you can send an email to enewsdirect@etv.co.za.
Or chat to us on Twitter and Facebook at eNews Direct.
Till tomorrow night, take care and good night.